Have you ever paused on a still, windless afternoon, looked at the sunlight pouring over the roof, and suddenly felt your heart soften? Not because of anything big, but simply because that moment was so peaceful? Maybe you were sitting alone. Maybe no one called you today, but you could still feel that something beautiful was still alive inside you. That's exactly what I want to share with you today. The older we get, the more we learn one important thing. Happiness doesn't lie in noisy things. It lies in the very small things. The things that seem ordinary, but if we pause, observe, and feel them, they become quiet joys that heal more deeply than any medicine ever could. I once met an 81-year-old woman named Rose who lived alone in Oregon after her husband passed away. I asked her, "What helps you feel strongest on lonely days?" She didn't talk about her children or grandchildren, doctors or religion. She just smiled and replied, "I can still hear the birds each morning. And I know if I can still feel joy from that, then I'm still living beautifully." That answer I've never forgotten. If you are 65, 70, or even 90, and you still feel moved by a blooming flower, by an old song, or by someone gently placing a hand on your shoulder and saying, "I miss you, Mom," then you are not weak. You have a resilient, peaceful, and beautifully unique soul. Because the modern world may move fast and people may become cold, but you, if you still treasure simple things, then you are holding on to a kind of beauty the world is slowly losing. In today's video, I'd like to invite you to sit with me like two lifelong friends, and together revisit 7 small joys that have the power to nourish the soul as we grow older. Because if you still believe in these simple things, you are not only living long, you are living deeply, living truly, and living meaningfully. Let's begin with the very first thing, something it seems everyone has, but which is so easy to lose as old age approaches. 1. Feeling happy just from the morning sunlight streaming through the window. Every morning, Linda, 76 years old, living alone in the suburbs of Idaho, starts her day by opening the window, taking a deep breath, and sitting on the chair next to the curtain. She doesn't use her phone, doesn't turn on the TV, doesn't read the newspaper. She just sits quietly, watching the light filter through the leaves and fall onto the old rug in her living room. "Just that sunlight every morning is enough for me," she told me during a chance meeting at the local senior community center. "It reminds me that I'm still alive, that I can still feel the warmth of this world." That sunlight doesn't say anything. It doesn't comfort you like a goodnight wish, doesn't embrace you like the arms of your children, but if you can still feel it, that gentle, quiet sunlight, it means your heart hasn't closed off. You still feel gratitude, still feel emotion, still know how to pause before the small beauties in life. At 75 or 80, maybe you've lost many things, loved ones, your job, your agility, those long travels. But if you can still pause in the early morning just to gaze at the sunlight, then congratulations, you are not aging like most people. You are living deeply. And your soul is aging beautifully. Many elderly people say, "I'm old now, what's left to enjoy?" But the truth is, just one ray of sunlight in the morning, a window frame with a smile, a quiet moment, can be enough to remind you that you are still a part of life. If you're watching this video and have ever felt what Linda described, leave us a comment below. What small thing in your morning brings you the most peace? Because when you share, you're not just telling your own story, you're warming the hearts of other seniors out there who may be feeling lonely. 2. Still feeling moved when hearing an old song. George, 79 years old, living in a quiet rural area of Vermont, often begins his afternoon by turning on a vintage cassette player that has been with him for over 30 years. His favorite tape? A love ballad from the 1960s Unchained Melody. "I don't quite remember all the lyrics anymore," he said with a gentle smile, "but every time that melody plays, I feel like I'm 30 again, slow dancing with my wife in our tiny living room back then." You know, when an old song makes your heart tighten, makes your eyes a little misty, or brings an unexpected smile to your face, it means you're still living with memory, with emotion, and with a soul that still knows how to love deeply. Many elderly people slowly begin to feel empty, not because of age, but because they stopped connecting with the things that once stirred their hearts. But if a song from the past can still make your heart flutter, then you haven't lost the most beautiful part of your humanity. It's not just memory, it's proof that you still have love, tenderness, and space for emotion. So what about you? Is there a song that once made you pause in the middle of a busy day just to listen and remember someone, some place, or a younger version of yourself? If so, share the name of that song in the comments. Because who knows, it might be the same song that revives a whole world of memories for someone else watching this video alongside you. 3. Still appreciating the little things each day. There's something very special about Helen, 82, who lives in Oregon. Every morning she opens the kitchen window just as the sun rises, brews a cup of Earl Grey tea, and sits silently for 10 minutes just to watch the first rays of sunlight filter through her little flower garden. "I don't need much," she says. "Just seeing the sunlight touch the lavender petals is enough to make me feel like I've truly lived another beautiful day." When you can still pause to feel the warmth of sunlight, the aroma of morning tea, or the sound of birds chirping on the roof, it means you haven't been swept away by the fatigue of aging. It means you're still living with an open and grateful heart, a heart that hasn't hardened. A soul that grows old but remains beautiful is one that doesn't take anything for granted. It's the person who still delights in a warm meal, still smiles at the sight of a cat stretching in the sun, and still feels at peace sitting in a tidy home they care for with their own hands. You see, people don't grow old because of wrinkles, but when they lose the ability to feel joy in the little things that once moved them. And if you still find happiness in life's simple pleasures, you're holding on to one of the most precious parts of being alive. If you're watching this video with a warm drink, a small treat, or simply sitting in a quiet space, take a moment to silently appreciate it. And if there's something you feel grateful for today, leave a comment below. Who knows, your gratitude might be the gentle reminder someone else needs when they're feeling lost in the rush of life. 4. You still feel moved by the kindness of others. Frank, 77 years old, lives alone in Florida. One quiet, rainy morning, he stepped outside to check the mail and saw a bag of red apples hanging from the door handle. No name, no note. He stood there for several minutes, a surge of emotion rising in his chest. Maybe it was the new neighbor, he recalled, his voice trembling with emotion. But I didn't do anything to help her. And still, someone cared. You see, at this age, you don't expect anyone to go out of their way for you. But when a small act of kindness touches your heart, you still feel grateful. You still allow yourself to soften. And that is one of the most beautiful signs of a soul that has not aged on the inside. People often think that the older we get, the more closed off we become. But not everyone is like that. Some people, maybe you, still get teary-eyed when a grandchild gives you their first drawing, still feel touched when a young cashier smiles kindly. People like that have never allowed life to harden their hearts. If you can still cry over a kind word, still feel moved by a gentle hand, then you're living with a soul that has depth and light. Think back. When was the last time you were deeply touched by someone's kindness? If you can, share that story below this video as a reminder that kindness still exists and that older people may be the ones who feel it most profoundly. 5. You still feel happy when you see others happy. Norma, 75 years old, used to be an elementary school teacher in Oregon. Every morning, she would sit by the small window in her quiet home, looking out onto the street and the grassy lawn in front. Across from her lived a young family, a couple and their little girl, about 5 years old. They didn't really know each other, only exchanged greetings through glances. But Norma shared that one of the moments that warmed her heart the most was watching the little girl run around, laughing and playing with her parents every afternoon. "It's not my own joy, but I still feel happy," she said. "I don't need to be part of it, but my heart feels lighter when I see others being loved and enjoying life." That is a subtle kind of happiness, when you no longer feel envy over others' joy, when you stop comparing yourself to the world. You simply feel glad that someone out there is living fully. And that is a clear sign of a mature, peaceful, and beautiful soul. Many people at this age tend to feel sorrow when they see others having what they once had, or what they never had. But if you can still smile at an elderly couple holding hands in the park, if you can still feel happy hearing that a young neighbor got promoted, then you possess a powerful inner strength. Gratitude for life, even when the joy doesn't belong to you. And you know what? A person who can celebrate the happiness of others without needing to take a share for themselves is someone living on a higher level of joy. If you're living with that spirit, please share a comment below. I feel joy when others are happy. We'd love to hear your beautiful stories. 6. You can still laugh at the simple things. Harold, 78 years old, lives alone in a small town in Iowa. He no longer has many friends around. His wife passed away 6 years ago, and his children live far away. But every morning he still brews himself a cup of coffee, sits down with the local newspaper, and reads the comics, and laughs. Not because the jokes are especially funny, but because he still has the ability to find joy in small things. He shared that once he dropped an entire box of laundry detergent, and the whole house smelled like a laundromat. Instead of getting frustrated, he burst out laughing. "Who would have thought I'd still be this clumsy at 78? Like a teenage boy," he joked. And it's precisely that sense of humor, that lightness, that has helped him stay mentally strong even while living alone. Laughter, not because life is perfect, but because we still have the strength to see things lightly, is a powerful sign of mental well-being. Many people over 65 or 70 become serious, withdrawn, even bitter about life. But if you can still laugh at a clumsy cat video or smile when your grandchild tells you a silly story, then your heart is still open and your soul is still young and vibrant. You don't have to laugh loudly. You don't have to force joy. Just the fact that you still feel moved by the kind, innocent, funny moments in life means you are proving one thing. You're not just living longer, you're living beautifully. If this resonates with you, leave a comment. I still laugh every day. Simple shares like that can bring life and light to our whole community. 7. You still feel gratitude even though life is no longer what it used to be. At 82, Ellen lives in a small nursing home in Colorado. Her room isn't spacious, nor as comfortable as the house she once called home for over 40 years. Her life partner has passed, and her children only manage to visit a few times a year. Yet every morning, Ellen looks out the window, watches the sunlight filter through the trees, and softly whispers, "Thank you for giving me today." Once, a caregiver asked her, "Don't you feel sad that everything is so different now?" Ellen simply smiled and replied, "I don't have everything I used to, but I still have this heart to love life and these eyes to see the beauty each morning." Gratitude isn't just courtesy toward life. It's medicine that keeps the soul from withering with age. Grateful people rarely grow bitter. They don't constantly mourn what's been lost. They focus on what remains, no matter how small. A warm cup of tea, a morning without aches, a funny story, a letter from a loved one. If you can still smile because the sky is clear today, because someone held your hand a little longer than usual, or simply because you're still breathing, then you carry within you a beautiful soul, one not subdued by the passing of time. And if you're still listening at this point, try closing your eyes for a few seconds and think of one thing you're grateful for today, no matter how small. When you acknowledge that, even if only silently, you're nourishing yourself with the light of life. If you still believe that a quiet morning with a warm cup of tea is enough to feel at peace, if your heart still warms up at the sight of someone's smile or the sound of birds singing outside the porch, then you're not just living, you're living with a beautiful soul. This world is always rushing, always demanding that people achieve more, know more, possess more. But there are things that only those who have been through life, who have hurt, who have lost, can truly understand. The preciousness of simple joys. And if you still hold on to them, you are not lacking at all. On the contrary, you are living more slowly, more deeply, and more meaningfully. At Senior Life 365, we believe that every stage of life carries its own unique value, so long as we live it with gratitude, empathy, and a spirit that refuses to give up. We're here every week to walk this journey with you, to share healing stories, to offer messages that rekindle your strength, and to gently remind you, old age is not the end. It's the beginning of a new and meaningful chapter. If this video touched your heart, please leave a comment. Tell us how many of these 7 joys you still hold close. Don't be shy, because your story could help someone else feel a little less lonely, a little less weary on their own journey. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we don't lose each other in this wide, bustling world. You are not alone. You've never been alone. We are here, and there is always a place for you in this community of beautiful souls.